Hey there, week 3. Wow, I know it's going quickly as the semester does sometimes. So, what I did is I finished grading a little while ago your week 2 Learn Together, and see that most of you have mastered to a certain level, right? And again, this is where we all vary in our experience. And good for you for jumping over the idea of any nervousness that you may or may not have had in sharing your code, right? It's perfectly normal. And again, it's part of why I do it is to help you get over it, because I remember when I was starting to code years ago, and it was a hard thing for me as well. And it's only gotten easier because I've done it more. It's like anything else in life, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's amazing how that is, right? Practice, practice, practice. And coding couldn't be more true that practice, practice, practice is important. Okay, so a couple things I want to say, and then I'll just get into just a little review of this week, what's coming at you, and show you an example of what I did for the development. Now, what I'm going to show you is the end result. You'll have 3 opportunities, meaning 3 different stages as we correspond with the course content to work on something. Okay, and I'm going to want you probably starting next week to maybe the week after, because I already have next week's content done, but actually say, this is the thing I'm going to work on. Okay, because having it now, and then what I want you to do is during our Learn Togethers, use some other topic, because the idea is that you want to have that complete project experience of doing it. So before I get into that, just to make sure we're all on the same page, and it's like you understand the grading, and hopefully you've gotten used to that. The thing about this class is that, and your coding and my schedule and all those things related, is like, if you want to see me do a little more like feedback, do it earlier in the week. Honestly, because for me, my Wednesday night class feeds into my Thursday, and then it's Friday, and it just doesn't lend itself. So I have a little more time during the front part of the week. Okay, I'm also incentivized to say that because honestly, the sooner you work on something, there's often, not always, there's often a relationship between the quality of work and the amount of time you give it. And that depends on your skill level. So for those of you that bring skill in, the amount of time you may need to do this work will not be as high as somebody that doesn't. So you have to figure out what works for you. But I talked to my 82 class this morning. For those of you that are in both, I'm just going to mention this here is a wonderful video called Discipline is Freedom. And there is freedom in being disciplined and getting stuff done, because it also allows you that creative time. When you're not giving yourself that creative time, you don't get to create as good of a output often. Again, I can't speak to every situation. We're all unique in the way that we approach things. Okay. All right. So for this week, and I showed this in my, so I always like to roll things up so they're not in my way anymore. You don't have to, but look at this, week 2, right? So I'm recording this the morning of Friday. And remember that I give you until noon to reply to that week, and then I remove the ability to comment, but you can watch the videos, which I recommend, because depending on the content that we're covering, right? But I leave it out there, right? And remember also, the benefit to working ahead is if I find something, you can fix it. Okay, so this week we're going into section 4. A lot of great content in section 4 of the Udemy course. You'll watch all of it and code along. Most of you seem to have got this process that I want about your commit messages and submitting to me your commit URL on your GitHub repo. So I think that's all good. And then the thing that I know can create a little bit of I've done this as week 3 as a little bit of it's a preview of what we're going to be doing. And it's another way to understand how code is being executed on your system or in general in a JavaScript engine. So please ask me any questions that you have if you have clarifications, remember that you can always do, right? So I've already had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, I want to talk to you about this. And here's what I appreciate. Here it is Friday. This thing is not due until almost a week from today, Thursday, a week from today. Yeah. And they've already looked at it and thought about it and realized they're not completely sure what I'm asking, or there's one part of that I don't know yet. I haven't talked to them, but they've said, can I meet with you? And the answer is absolutely. Please do. I am here to do that because, what I have in my head when I do this, because I am creating I call this first generation, because oftentimes, like in my 82 class, for those of you in both, and if you haven't taken 82, I recommend you do because it's beginning introduction to web development. But that course content I have revved, meaning iteration, because that's another important part of this industry, but several times. And I kind of know what works and what doesn't, and I've filled the holes and da-da-da-da-da. With this course, because of the different ways we've changed the format, I'm creating new content that I haven't done before. So, who knows? Between what I thought was clear and what who knows? All right, so take a look at that. But the other thing is, I want you to write code and start thinking about the project that you're going to create for this class. And I say here, write at least 2 functions. I say 2, and I say at least 2 functions for this week, because functions are just fundamental. That sounds funny. But what I wanted to do is show you, again, what you're about to look at is the final version of what I created last time. And I'm going to do something different for this round, because last time I did a game, rock, scissors, paper, very easy. And the reason I did it was because I was also doing a rock, scissors, paper machine learning app. And so I decided just to give the basic demonstration here. So actually what I'm going to do real quick is clear this, because it does use what's called local storage to store the results of the gameplay. But again, this is just an example, right? So you get user input. So for me, Jane, let's say Jack, I hit tab, and then Jack is playing, so it's responding to the user input. Asks for a review. Well, I haven't played yet, so I don't know. Says no gameplay history, and it shows the developer, right? So in this case, it shows who's playing, because if you think about the process of logging into a site, that's called authentication, and it can take a lot more code than we're doing here. We do handle authentication in my 94 class for Node.js, so I hope to see some of you ultimately end up in there. But in this case, right, so I'm going to play. So if I choose paper, right, it's going to say, oh, that game wins, right? So rock crushes scissors. And then what it's doing here is it's adding that total here. So if I play again, oh good, so I see my summary, right? Play again, right? So this was fun for me to do. Games are always fun, but it's not, I talk about, especially in my 94 class, so introducing it here is the idea of a Crud app. So I'm creating data by, I'm creating, and by the way, just a little preview of what you're going to end up seeing later on, is we're storing this stuff locally. I think it's under application. So here is the local storage for these games, right? So every time we gameplay, I'm capturing a unique ID for that game, the player, the result, player's choice, game's choice, and a timestamp, right? So that I can do something with that. But I'm capturing it locally, which, local storage is not something you would really use on a real life app, but it at least gives you the experience of what's called CRUD, which is create, read, update, and delete. And this is a common term, and this is ultimately the kind of app you'll create on a front-end development site or, project you'll do. And it does have some CSS, some styling. Notice that I did. Now, this class is not intended to teach HTML and CSS. Hopefully you've either taken 82 or 85. If not, consider both those classes to help you level up on this. I didn't use any frameworks here. I just did a very simple site. And then if I have a different user, right, no gameplay again, right, I could have done a leaderboard for all the data. That might be something I could add to this. But I think what, again, I'm going to do this time is actually think about building out something that is not a game, right? Something that is something I'm interested in, something that's, I think will extend my, challenge me some. And that's why we all have to look at the minimum requirements, which we'll start talking about, because your first, and let's just say this, right? Your first, and I call it Dev Zero, is on February 20th, right? So starting next week, we'll start talking in more detail about this, okay? All right, so for this week, any questions you have from the content I went over, anything else you want me to chat about? I don't have any of that local event stuff that I have been updated with so far. So if I have it, I will let you know. I know there is a new Women in STEM group starting to meet at Fresno City. I'm going to be going to that first meeting. So if you want to know about that, ladies, please let me know. There is meetings happening down at Bitwise for various topics. There's Root Access down here that's doing some great stuff, great meetups down there. If you want to know about hardware, IoT, stuff like that, let me know. But Root Access, not that far away from me. I say like that way, like you would know. Anyway, thanks for this class has had a great start. I couldn't be more happy with that. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time and attention. Enjoy whatever time you have. Bye.